Dearest soul, this morning the message was simple. Stop endlessly consuming and start producing something of your own. But now, as the day winds down, it's time to peel back another layer, one that most people never even realize exists. This hidden layer is often the exact reason why someone can follow all the right steps, work incredibly hard, and still feel like they're running in place. There's an internal limit. You carry a kind of invisible ceiling that controls how much success, wealth, or opportunity you allow yourself to experience. Think of it as your personal capacity to receive. And for many people, that capacity is set far lower than what they consciously say they want. Let's break that down in a practical way. Imagine the temperature control system in a house. You set it to a specific number, say, a comfortable level. Once it's set, the system does everything it can to maintain that condition. If the room gets too cold, the heating kicks in. If it gets too warm, the cooling system activates. No matter what happens externally, the system constantly works to return to that preset level. Now shift that idea inward. Your mind, particularly your subconscious, operates in a very similar way. It has a set point for what feels normal to you in terms of money, success, relationships, and even happiness. And regardless of what you try to change on the surface, your internal system will quietly work to bring you back to that familiar level. This is why you sometimes see people come into sudden success, a big promotion, a windfall of money, a breakthrough opportunity, only to lose it all or sabotage it within a short period of time. From the outside, it looks confusing or even foolish, but internally it makes perfect sense. If someone's internal set point is rooted in scarcity or struggle, then abundance doesn't feel safe, it feels foreign. It's like turning the temperature too high in that house. The system immediately responds by cooling things down, restoring what it recognizes as normal. Here's the uncomfortable truth: what feels normal to you isn't necessarily what's best for you. It's simply what you've experienced most often. Your nervous system isn't wired to chase what's optimal, it's wired to repeat what's familiar. So how did that internal setting get established in the first place? In most cases, it wasn't something you consciously chose. It was built over time through repetition, through what you saw, heard, and felt growing up. The conversations around money in your environment, the financial habits of people around you, the emotional tone tied to success or lack, all of these things quietly shaped your internal baseline. If you grew up hearing phrases like, money is hard to earn, or people like us don't get ahead, those ideas didn't just stay as words, they became embedded patterns. Your mind absorbed them and turned them into expectations, and expectations are powerful. They don't just influence what you think, they influence what you allow. So if your internal system expects struggle, it will unconsciously guide your actions, decisions, and reactions in ways that reinforce that expectation, even if you consciously want something completely different. Now, here's the part that matters most. That internal setting is not permanent. It can be changed, but it won't change just because you wish it to. It requires deliberate effort. The first step is exposure. You need to start surrounding yourself intentionally with the level of success, abundance, or lifestyle you want to normalize. Not in a way that makes you feel like an outsider looking in, but in a way that gradually makes it feel familiar. For example, spend time in environments that reflect the standard you're aiming for. Visit places that represent a higher level of living. Observe how people carry themselves, how they speak, how they interact with money and opportunity. If physically going somewhere isn't possible, use digital exposure. Watch conversations with people who have achieved what you're working toward. Pay attention not just to what they say, but how they think. Notice their comfort level with success. Then take it a step further, visualize yourself in those scenarios. Picture yourself living in the kind of home you aspire to, managing the kind of resources you want, moving through life with a sense of ease rather than tension. The goal isn't to escape reality, but to expand what feels possible and safe, because your nervous system learns through repetition and familiarity. When you consistently expose yourself to higher standards, your internal system begins to adjust. What once felt intimidating starts to feel attainable. What once felt not for you starts to feel natural. The second step is much more subtle, but just as important. Notice how you respond to receiving. This is where many people unknowingly reinforce their limitations. Think about small everyday moments. Someone offers to help you. Someone gives you a compliment. Someone does something kind for you, something you didn't earn or expect. How do you react? Do you accept it fully or do you deflect it? Do you say thank you and allow it in? Or do you minimize it, brush it off, or feel uncomfortable? These tiny moments matter more than they seem. Every time you resist receiving, whether it's a kind gesture, support, or even recognition, you're sending a signal to your internal system that receiving is uncomfortable. And if your system associates receiving with discomfort, it will naturally avoid larger forms of it as well. It's not about the size of what you're receiving, it's about the pattern. If you can't comfortably accept something small, it becomes much harder to hold on to something big. So start practicing with the little things. Let appreciation land. Accept help without over-explaining or apologizing. Allow yourself to feel worthy of what's being offered, even if it's unfamiliar. This isn't about entitlement, it's about openness. When you begin to accept small forms of receiving with ease, you're gradually training your system to handle larger forms of it. You're raising that internal set point step by step. Another perspective to consider is how you react when things start going well. Do you stay steady, or do you feel a subtle urge to pull back? Do you question whether it will last? Do you unconsciously create problems where there weren't any before? These reactions are often signs that you're moving beyond your current comfort zone. And instead of expanding into that new level, your system is trying to bring you back to what it knows. Recognizing this pattern is powerful, because once you see it, you can choose differently. Instead of retreating, you can pause and remind yourself, this is just unfamiliar, not unsafe. That distinction matters. Growth rarely feels comfortable in the moment. But discomfort doesn't always mean something is wrong. It often means something is changing. Over time, as you continue exposing yourself to higher standards, accepting more with ease, and staying present through discomfort, your internal baseline begins to shift. What once felt out of reach starts to feel normal. What once triggered doubt starts to feel stable. And when that internal shift happens, your external results tend to follow. Because at that point, you're no longer fighting yourself. You're aligned. So tonight, instead of just thinking about what you want to achieve, take a moment to reflect on what you're currently allowing. Pay attention to your reactions, your habits, your comfort zones. Ask yourself honestly, is your internal setting aligned with the life you say you want? If not, that's not a failure, it's just information, and it means you now have something specific to work on. Start small, stay consistent, and most importantly, be willing to let your definition of normal evolve. Because once your internal standard rises, your life has no choice but to rise with it.